Hey everyone, I figured I'd start this off by showing you guys some of the amazing builds I was able to balance using our new PRO Dovetail system. And so here's an A7S with a 135mm Arri Ultra Prime. You can see here total clearance. You can see there the counterweight on the back. Here is a Red weapon at Red Studios with a Zeiss 16-30 zoom with a two-stage matte box in the front with two filters. We actually had room to put the shroud in there if we wanted to. Here's a Fs700 with a PL mount with a Zeiss Compact Prime on a Ronin-M. Once again, Ronin-M A7S PL mount and an Ingenue 16 to 30 to 60 in this case actually. Here is a Fs700 with a Vydra Prime on it with 3 of the 2-inch weights. On a Ronin-M, of course, as you can see, nicely balanced and responsive. Here is a Canon C500 on the larger Ronin with a super heavy Cooke 135 Prime, fully balanced. Here is a Ronin-M Fs700 with a PL mount and a Zeiss Compact Prime. Here is once again the C500 on the Ronin-M this time with an Ultra Prime. Next camera is going to be a Sony Fs7. Now this wasn't the best fit, there's not a lot of clearance on the back, but it just goes to show it can work, although limited. Fs100 with the Vydra Prime this time. Next up is a Sony F55 with a Zeiss Super Speed. A lot of weight on the back and some clearance issues, but you can put the battery on the handlebar and it can work.
Hello everyone, this is Pedro with CineMilled, and we're here today at Hot Rod Cameras in Hollywood. They are one of our longtime resellers and good friends of ours, and they let me come over here and talk to you today about our newest product, which is the Ronin PRO Dovetail and also the Ronin-M PRO Dovetail. So same product, and we make it to fit both Ronins. And basically, my challenge here today is to give you enough information so that you can understand what the product can do for you and understand why you might need it, and what kind of pros and cons that this product offers, and show you some actual practical examples of why it's such a cool thing that you know, I can't leave home without now, just as far as, you know, letting me configure the camera with any lens that I want, with more lenses. In the case of the Ronin-M, it gives you a lot more options. Well, just to go over the basic points of the product. Basically, it's a Ronin dovetail, which means what? It's the dovetail that goes into the cradle of the Ronin, right? So you put your camera on here, and then you slide it into the Ronin. So, you know, the main difference for the Big Ronin is that ours is much longer. It's, well, much longer. It's 1.5 inches, but 1.5 inches is quite a bit longer. And not only is it longer, it's slotted, so you can choose exactly where to put your camera screws. You know, with the Ronin dovetail, sometimes since they're not slotted, they just have drilled holes. It's sometimes you're off where you need to be, and you need to compromise on where you put the plate. With ours, we have slots, much like what they did on the Ronin-M dovetail. Now it's slotted, but for the larger Ronin users, this is a good advantage. Could be very helpful. The other main feature of the system is that if you look here, it's kind of shaped like a T, and you know, you'll be able to see this a little closer in a little bit. And there's a series of 3/8/16 threaded holes across the back and across down the middle on the sides. So, and then the other part of the system is the weights. So basically, there's 2 reasons why you would need this. One reason is you're trying to put this on you have our CineMilled extension arms on your Big Ronin, and you're trying to fit like a really long zoom or a big camera or longer camera. We've had a lot of customers asking for this that are using a Sony P1, which is a broadcast camera with it's a broadcast lens, so it's much longer, And so in that kind of situation, the body of the camera is way farther back. So with the longer dovetail, you can still reach the body mount screw on that kind of camera. So that's why the increased length in the dovetail. The weights. So that's the second reason why you might need this. So frequently when we're building out Ronins, sometimes two things can happen. A few things can happen. One is on the bigger Ronin, your Ronin is too top, the build is too top heavy. So what happens is you have to slide the cradle down all the way to the bottom, and it's not balanced yet on the tilt. So luckily we do offer a solution, which is the extended tilt arms, which is $179. But the other way to fix that is, like a lot of you currently do, is you have a piece of Velcro on the bottom, and you start putting any kind of accessories you have on the bottom to change the weight to the bottom and let you slide the camera cradle back up. So optionally, what this weight system lets you do is it allows you to screw in weight on the back of the dovetail. So what that allows you to do is counteract front heaviness, right? Also, what it does at the same time is it adds bottom weight. So by adding more bottom weight, what happens? You slide up on the tilt arms. So you can solve that issue. You can solve that issue, and you can solve the front issue just by adding the weights. Now, some of you have been doing this with rolls of quarters, whatever they had in their pocket, and taping it onto the back of the camera. That sometimes works. Sometimes it peels off and falls off, and it's not professional, and it's not very adjustable. The nice thing that since we have a series of holes, if your camera is very wide, in the case of the Ronin-M, this happens quite a bit because the cradle is a lot tighter. Instead of you might not have a lot of room to slide left to right to adjust the side-to-side balance. What you could do is just take our weight and mount it in a different hole left to right, helping you balance the side to side if you can't move the camera much. So basically that's what it is. But just to preface, I'm going to go into now, I'm going to balance a couple of cameras so that you guys can see how the product works. There is another aspect of it is if you don't have the arm extensions on the Big Ronin and you don't have the pan extension for the Big Ronin, and in the case of the Mini, it's impossible, right? You can't have arm extensions and you can't have a pan extension. So, and you need to balance more weight because this is going to allow you to balance more weight on the Ronin-M especially, but also on the Ronin. How can you balance the pan? So very simply, we now have a pan weight system also. So this just double stick tapes to the back of your battery, and then you can just thread in whatever weights, however many weights you need to balance out the pan axis once that's maxed out like it is here. So that's the second part to the system is the pan axis weight balance adapter. But basically, I just want to preface this with, I'm calling this the Ronin Pro Dovetail, and there's kind of a reason for that is because, if you're a more basic user, you're probably not going to need this product. But if you're a higher level pro user, it's more often than not you're being asked to use higher quality lenses, higher quality cameras with higher quality lenses, matte boxes, filters, lens motors, and a number of things like that, which increase the complexity of the build and getting it balanced on the Ronin. So, and what these plates do is they make it simpler, but it does also require you to really understand what's going on with the balance on a gimbal system, because this whole game here, you see we have a couple different size weights. You can mix and match. Once you add a weight to the bottom, you have to understand how it affects the front weight, the top and bottom weight, and so on and so forth. So if you have a really good grasp of balancing the camera, you're going to love this system because it's going to allow you to do a lot more. As a quick example, with the Ronin-M, you're very limited because it's very short backspace right here. The arms are very short. And so what frequently happens if you have like a C500, in this case we have an Fs700, and even an Fs700, which is normally would be impossible to put on the Ronin-M. But with our Pro Dovetail and the weight system, you're going to see me balance both of these cameras on the Ronin-M. And basically, you can see here, the problem is you either can't get farther back enough, and then even if you get all the way back, it's still too front heavy. So obviously, by having the Pro Dovetail and the weights, you can add back weight to compensate for the front heaviness. You can even slide it farther forward, and then you would have to add more back weight, but then this would give you the clearance to tilt. The other side benefit is, of course, since you're adding bottom weight when you do this, you're going to be sliding up on the tilt arms, which means you're probably not going to need the tilt arm extensions for the Ronin-M, and on the bigger Ronin, you're probably not going to need the tilt arm extenders, the CineMilled tilt arm extenders either. So this can, and it might, depending, if you own this camera and this is going to be the build you always fly, it might actually save you some money, because it might prevent you from being forced to buy some of our other products to get your camera balanced. This can solve a lot of problems, and I'm now going to show you how to balance using this system, and you're going to see how useful it can be to allow you to balance anything you want. And I have to say, particularly, and this is why I chose the Ronin-M to demonstrate this, particularly on the Ronin-M I feel is a little limited due to its size, and people keep asking me, oh, can I put this camera on it? Can I put that camera on it? Do you make extensions? And unfortunately, because of the single piece build, that's not possible. But with the Pro Dovetail, you're now going to be able to fit a lot more variety of cameras and lenses on the Ronin-M. So for Ronin-M users, this is a fantastic product. So I'm going to get into it now, and let's get to it. Alright everyone, so I'm going to show you now how to balance an FS100 with a Vedra Mini Prime, which is, basically I just selected this because, well, I'm here at Hot Rod Camera and they sell them. But it's a heavier built lens, and that's basically what I'm just trying to show, is that you can use a camera such as the FS100 with the heavier lens up front. We'll also try a different lens on here just to show you. But basically you just start off by, it's just a dovetail, so you can just take the dovetail right here, take some screws. Once again, it's slotted, so you can choose, you have a lot of freedom on where to put the dovetail, which is great. And in my case, I'm going to put one right there. And you can always get 2 screws in, which is crucial. So there we go, and basically works just like a regular dovetail. It slides in, and there's a safety catch right there, so if you forget, it stops the camera if you forget to tighten it. So there we go. So first of all, if we just try to balance this right now, I'm just want to show you an example, right? So let me see. Let me lock that off, and let's start with our balancing procedure. So first I'm going to do, that's for a tilt balance. Obviously it's very bottom heavy, so I'm going to slide up. And you can kind of quickly get a feel. Okay, so obviously, so here's one of the issues, and this is why this is kind of the Pro Dovetail. So obviously, if you try to balance your tilt like that, now I can't go back because the camera's too far back. So the way we have to balance our tilt actually is, first let me get the camera. Alright, so the way I recommend you balancing the tilt is turning it sideways and then adjusting it that way, because, and you can tell if it wants to fall to one side or the other. So that feels pretty good, because then you don't have any problems with, because you're gonna eventually hit something, see? So you can't balance it like you normally would, but you could double check that right there. So it's almost perfect.
We can slide it in a little bit more. Yeah, it's close enough. So as you get the balance closer, you'll see it'll throw off other axes, so constantly just adjust. Alright, and then our front to back is going to be off. So I got this, I just basically slid it around and got it balanced, and we could check the balance again really quick. So once again, you want things not to move, so that's tilt is balanced, side to side is balanced, and it's balanced front to back. So here we go, we have a balanced Ronin with FS100 with the Vajra. What's the big problem? Is that you can't tilt, correct? Because the camera hits it. So ideally, the only way to fix that is to add weight out front. So, or is to slide it forward, right? So it clears. But then if we slide it forward, it's too front heavy and we can't balance it. So this is the beauty of the system. So we have 1-inch weights and we have 2-inch weights. So in this case, I just need to trim. So I'm just going to take the 1-inch weight to put it in the center, on the center hole. Right there, and you just thread it on, and then of course now it's back heavy, so we're just gonna slide it forward until it's balanced. So there's the weight, and as you can see here, we got a kind of a rough balance. It slid a little bit here. Let me readjust the side to side. There we go. And as you can see, we have clearance. Now it's just barely touching. So, I mean, what we could always do is we can add one more weight. See, so as we add weight, we can slide the camera further forwards, giving us more clearance back here, right? Now, since this camera is fairly light, and even with the lens, it doesn't present that much weight. You know, these are like 5.5 ounces or 5.6 ounces. It's not that much weight. You're not stressing out the motors that much. What it is letting you do is it's giving you the possibility of having a much larger lens with full clearance, and without having to buy any arm extenders. Because as you can see, as we add weight to the bottom, this goes up, right? So, no problems. So of course, we can always turn this on. And we have a fully functioning Ronin. So, as you see, when you take the power off of Ronin, usually you don't want anything to move. So if it's falling forward or falling back, you're not in balance. So you want to make sure you're in balance. So obviously, so here we go. So this is set up. So it just goes to show that you can now, by adding this one weight, you can increase the clearance you have back here and negate the need for the arm extensions. And you can use your FS100 with a heavy lens on it. So what I could show now is maybe a different lens. Alright, so here's another example. We still have the FS100. We added a PL mount adapter, and we added a compact prime, a CP2 50mm. So obviously, I mean, if you look at this, you would be going, there's no way that's ever going to work on a Ronin-M, right? It's not going to balance. So we're going to show you just exactly how you can balance this on your Ronin-M. So first off, right, we want to make sure we have the plate as far back as you can get it and still having clearance back here. So that's the start off point. So obviously right now it's totally front heavy. So we need to add some back weight. So I have a probably not just going to be one of these. It's probably going to take quite a bit of weight. So I'm going to start with the 2-inch weights. And let me get these threaded in here. There we go. I'm going to guess it's going to take another one. Now, these are drilled in a way where you can get 4 of these across the back. So let's see where we are with 2. Wow, look at that. Much better, right? So now remember, I don't want to adjust the back and forth because then I won't be able to clear the tilt here. So with this much weight, we should check our top and bottom balance, our tilt balance. So for sure, we're going to want to slide that up some, and our side to side slipped here. Let's reset that. Just get it closer. So we're top heavy. So once again, I'm turning it sideways. You see, if it's falling this way, it's because it's bottom heavy. So I'll just loosen it. Trick is always getting these to move slightly without jumping like that. So very close. That is pretty close. And then you can always check again. Alright, we can check right there. See, so it's just slightly falling to the left, which means it's a little bottom heavy. But as you can see, as we get more neutral, we're going to notice that it's more front heavy, right? Because it's going to accentuate the fact that it's out of balance. So we should probably add more weight. So let's do that. More weight. Let's thread in here another 2-inch section. There we go. So, alright, so as you can see now, all of a sudden we're back heavy, which is good news because we can slide the plate forward, which gives us more clearance on the back, which is always what we want. So, slide it back. That's close enough for now. You're never going to get accurate on the first adjustment. So obviously we added a weight, so our side to side is off, so we gotta check that. Close enough for now. And so it's very bottom heavy, I can tell already. See, it wants to fall left right away, so we need to slide up on these tilt arms. Once again, you can see the more weight we add, the more we're sliding up. So even with a big setup like this, you don't need the arm extensions, the tilt arm extensions. And that's pretty close. See, it doesn't want to fall either way, so yeah. There we go. So that means our tilt is balanced. So here, now that we're more balanced there, all the other balances become more critical. So, see, we're falling left a little. Okay, so it's pretty decent. See right there? It's not wanting to fall back to center, so it means the tilt is pretty neutral right now, right? We could do that and check. So, okay, I could probably adjust it a little bit more, but it's pretty good. The most important thing I want to point out, check that out. See, you can tilt all the way down and look down, which is the most important, because up you're limited to 45 degrees anyways. So, and we're pretty much in balance. So obviously the problem at this point is because you added all this weight, your pan, as you can see, is not balanced, right? Because you added more weight. So obviously the pan is one of the most important to have very good balance on. So I'm just going to go for broke and adjust this all the way back. So there we go, that's maxed out. And probably, oh, Look at that. It looks like it is just about, it is pretty good. It's pretty good. So in the situation where you might have to add a transmitter or something to this, or maybe a filter to the front here, any more weight than what you have here is obviously going to disrupt this balance situation you got here. So what we have is this little stick-on system that just goes right there at the bottom of the battery. So basically here you're out of adjustment too, even though it looks like it's a pretty decent balance, you're also out of adjustment, which is not a good place to be, right? So if you put a filter on, or you need to alter the setup a little bit, you don't have anywhere to adjust it. So you take the same weights that you use there, and you just spin on to the bottom here of the battery. So of course, as you know, either you move something further back or you add more weight to it. So by adding more weight to it, obviously now it's going to be, there you go, see, it's out of balance. So, but what that means is we can slide forward, which means now all of a sudden, once we find our balance point, we'll actually have adjustment front to back. Look at that. So pretty good balance. Go a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. So we got our two weight systems. We got the battery weight system here to give us our pan balance with a heavier setup. And then we have our weight system for the dovetail, which gives us bottom weight, which lets you slide up on the tilt arms. And it gives you back weight, so you can counteract a heavy lens. I mean, look at this Fs700 setup. It's pretty ridiculous for a Ronin-M. So here, let's turn it on and test fly it. There we go. Woke up. And it's totally happy. So there you go. All of a sudden now you can use a really high quality lens, a prime that maybe has a very fast speed, which is something that your shoot might require because you guys are shooting at night, with the camera that you have on a small Ronin-M. So just imagine that this is the bigger Ronin, and it's a similar situation. I mean, if you have a red epic and you have a big heavy lens, you're going to need a back balance system. So once again, you don't want anything to move once you have it balanced. That means you're in balance. You're going to have you could balance it like this, but with the long setup, either you're going to hit the back when you tilt up, or this is going to hit over here. So you don't want to use that system that a lot of people do, tilting forward to balance. You could do the same thing just by putting it sideways, right? And if it wants to fall either on one side or the other, all you got to do is slide this left and right. It's almost like adjusting side to side, but once you turn it on its side, it's the same concept. So as you can see, it's in perfect balance. And you're midway through the arm, even though you're on a really heavy setup. So taking it off is really simple. Obviously, you can't slide it off the Ronin without taking the weights off. So you just quickly spin the weights off, holding the camera, because once you take the weights off, it's going to be really out of balance. So you want to protect the camera and the Ronin. And you just spin the weights off. And now you'll be able to slide the camera out. So just hit the safety button like you normally do, slide the camera out, and there's our dovetail. So now I want to talk a little bit about a extended Ronin. As you can see, this Ronin has our arm extensions and our pan arm extension, and it's a red weapon with a really heavy zoom lens. Also at the end of that long zoom lens is a lens motor and a two-stage matte box with 4x5 filters in it. As you can see, there's our PRO Dovetail system. So they were not able to balance this, and they actually called me and said, we're having this problem. And I said, well, I think I just made a new product that's going to be exactly what you guys need. So as you see here, I'm checking the tilt balance, and I'm able to now move it up. It was previously maxed out. because of all the top weight, they dropped the arms all the way to the bottom, didn't have proper tilt balance. So by adding that small weight on the back, I now was able to slide the arms back up on the tilt arms, have proper tilt balance, and still have some room to adjust. And there you see it now fully balanced. You see the lens motor up top there. There's the matte box in the front. There you can see me testing the tilt balance, and you see it's perfect. You can also note that we have plenty of clearance in the back. There's our side to side there is also perfect. See, nothing is moving. And that's basically how you need to have your Ronin. There I am testing the pan balance. And as you can see, basically when I let go, nothing moves. And that's a 2-inch weight on the back of the PRO Dovetail, allowed me to move that up. And that was a perfect solution to the problem they were having. They really needed to use this lens for this shoot, and they wanted to use the Ronin, and were not able to get it to balance. Now, so here I just want to talk about another reason why you may want to use the PRO Dovetail. Is, see, we have that right angle power connector there, and depending on how things are balanced, you may have an interference. So you can actually just slide the weight over on the back of the PRO Dovetail to let you center the camera in the cradle and give you the clearance you need. So it actually also can help you get clearance side to side, or balance the camera side to side.
Alright, so this is not a setup you would see ever with the Ronin-M. This is a Sony Fs700. As you can see here, this is its smaller brother, the Fs100. So it's considerably longer and a little heavier. And so it even has a PL mount to make things even worse. So, but we're going to try to make this work on a Ronin-M. So let's see here. So first off, let me get the lens on there. Okay. So now we're going to set our CineMilled PRO Dovetail here. We're going to find a spot. Now at first you may guess wrong. I'm going to slide this a little bit further back because I know I'm going to need some room back there. So nice thing about the way we have this slotted is you'll always be able to find 2 holes that'll work. And with the Ronin Dovetail, that is not always the case. And you can use the Ronin, the stepped Ronin screws that came with your Ronin-M. They work in our Dovetail just the same. Okay, alright, let's see what we can do here. So once again, it's just like the regular. You just slide it in. There you go, there's a safety so it won't fall out. So obviously this is super front heavy, which is the only way you'll ever get any sort of tilt action out of it. So I'm just going to lock it off here and start adding weight because it's going to need it. So if you use the outermost hole, if you know you're doing a setup that's going to take a lot of weight, if you use the outermost hole, you can actually fit 4 of these 2-inch weights across the back, which gives you the maximum amount of counterweight. Let's see what that does for us. Here we go. You see me spend some time here going back and forth, and basically it is a process of back and forth because the more neutral you get your tilt balance, the more you're going to accentuate your fore and aft being out of balance. So once you get your fore and aft in balance, you do your tilt, and then you go back, and then your fore and aft is off again.
So you adjust that, and then your tilt is off, so then you adjust that. So you have to go back and forth until you get to a point where we have here where we have perfect fore and aft, because it's not falling forward, it's not falling back. And if you tilt it anywhere, it stays. Right? It stays pretty well. I mean, it's not moving much at all. It's moving a little bit. It's a little bit off. I'd say that's acceptable. As you can see here, if you alter the angle, it stays. It doesn't want to drop to level. This means it's in perfect neutral balance. So why is this important? This is important because we're adding all this weight and this big system. And even though all this weight is on the Ronin, it doesn't take much force at all for me to move it. See? So in fact, the motors aren't doing that much work, so you're not really stressing out the system that much. So the one thing, of course, that is probably not in balance is the pan axis. So once again, just tilt forward and you see it's out of balance. So obviously, the only way this is able to be even close is because we got our weight system here. So since we have here, we have a little bit of room to play with there. So it's actually too far forward, so we need to move it further back. So let's see here. So let's see, it's trying to go that way, so that means we need to go further back with it. And now it's not going anywhere, which means it's in balance, right? So here, let's go back here, make sure nothing moved. Sometimes things shift. I didn't tighten this side, so it looks like we got a little bit of a discrepancy. It's always a challenge moving millimetrically with these systems, but here we go. So once again, let's just review. Perfect fore and aft, perfect tilt balance, right? We can change the angle. Look at that, it stays in place. That's a perfectly balanced system. And now we go to the pan axis and we move that and it more or less stays in place. Let's see here. Okay, it's a little bit off, but we can still adjust that. Why? Because we have room to go back and forth, because we have the battery weight system. So here is the incredible feat. You can see we have balanced an Fs700 with a PL mount with a compact prime lens on a Ronin Mini. So if it wasn't for the PRO Dovetail system and the weight system, there's no way this would ever be even close to possible. And once again, you're not stressing out the motors too much, because if you properly balance this like we have it, it does not take any force from the motors to move it. It is off right now. There's no power to it. So let's actually turn it on. And let's play with it a little bit. See, there you go. Okay, woke up. And there we go. It's actually very responsive. All right? So, okay, so the one downside to this, and let me turn this guy on. Oh, its battery's dead. The one downside to this is that you can tilt down to a certain point and it might touch a little bit. You could screw those weights in and give you some clearance, and you know you're gonna have problems tilting back. So, but if you're just following someone down the sidewalk, depending on what kind of shooting you're doing, there's still plenty of movement here to isolate to do the stabilization, and it allows you to use this big camera on the Ronin-M. So I'm going to try to compile a list of cameras where I'll talk about that in my closing. So here you go, Ronin-M Fs700 PL mount lens, perfectly balanced, and look at that. So once again, we have 4 of the 2-inch weights, a longer dovetail, and the battery weight system right there. You know, once again, here it is in perfect balance, Fs700 with the PL, you know, on a Ronin-M. So basically, once again, just to review, here we got the Ronin PRO Dovetail, We got the weight system, 1 inch and 2 inch, and then we got the battery weight system. And that's once again so that you could balance the pan axis on either the Ronin-M or the larger Ronin. Maybe this will actually allow you to avoid having to get the pan arm extension on the larger Ronin, because if you for people that use the FS7, they don't actually need the pan arm extension, but they can, by using different accessories and different lenses, they might get to a point where they might max out the pan adjustment, and by adding a little bit of weight, that would solve that problem. So this can actually be used also for the larger Ronin. Here's the larger Ronin version, and so we have them for the larger Ronin battery and for the Ronin-M battery. And so, you know, in closing, I kind of just wanted to point out that you have to really grasp the idea of balancing the camera and how where you put the weight affects things. You know, you have to, you know, I showed a picture, you saw the A7S, you know, by actually taking a small weight and placing it in front, it made me have to slide this forward, because then it bought me room in the back. So you can actually get pretty creative with these weights and increase the kind of things that you can do with your Ronin, as the kinds of builds you can do with your Ronin. Yeah, and I hope you got a grasp of what this product can do for you and your Ronin. And I'm going to try to compile a little bit of a list of what weights work with what cameras. You know, if you guys could share on Instagram and hashtag CineMilled on there, and then we can increase our database of what weights for what builds to help you to figure out which weights to buy. But you know, ultimately, this is a great tool to unlock your Ronin's potential and get more out of your Ronin-M especially. But as you saw also with the Red Weapon build, it lets you do even crazier things in conjunction with our other extension products. And I hope you got a good grasp of what the Ronin PRO Dovetail can do to unlock your Ronin's potential. Now you can get all of our CineMilled products here at Hot Rod Cameras in Los Angeles, or at one of our many authorized resellers all over the world. We have Paris, Italy, UK. You can go to our website, to the authorized resellers, and get a list. You can always buy direct from our website at cinemilled.com. And lastly, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at CineMilled, or Twitter, and our Facebook also. We're always posting our latest news and the latest new products and developments, and it's a great place to go to get ideas, to get examples of different builds and what kind of things they did with it. It's a great resource, and you can have fun at the same time. So thanks a lot, and happy shooting.